Yeah, we don't want to be saying DMs in front of your missus when she watches this.
Yeah.
Hey, Jessica Vaughan.
Yeah, just have to hope Starbucks doesn't start accepting Bitcoin, otherwise Mark's fucked.
I think Pomp wants a chief hand jobber. You might be. It pays a couple of sats an hour.
Sounds reasonable.
You're like the most inclusive into this group ever. if we were saying we will not advertise on glory holes, that is homophobic. We are saying we are exclusively advertising on glory holes.
We still got down. I was about to say afternoon, it's evening.
Oh, yeah, definitely evening.
I was just saying that when you kind of think your standard is that maybe it'd break you when you see it coming down to your average price, but I'm kind of to a point that it's something which I believe in, so I'm not selling. And I think and it's not even rattling me anymore, which I think in a way is disturbing.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Once you become immune to price fluctuations of 30 to 40%, you know you're a Bitcoiner now because...
Yeah, my wife has asked me, she's like, so what's happening with the Bitcoin price? I'm like, fucking Elon. I thought you love Elon. You were listening to his autobiography the other day. I was just like, don't know how to respond. I still can't work out what I think of Elon.
I know, we'll get onto that. Are you all in, Darnell?
He's a complex guy, right?
Here he is.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay? I noticed on the last podcast I was fainted a few times, so I'm definitely going to try and talk into the mic more.
Yeah, that is quite loud.
Probably not quite that close, Darnell.
Yeah, we're just talking about Gaz's spit guard.
Okay.
You'll be spitting all over your microphone. It'll be done within about 2 sessions.
Yeah, because that's the thing. This little thing, it does. I think it'll actually get closer. So it's when you get close, if you laugh or like shout, it softens you because it's literally your voice. The voice waves get softened by this thing, and I don't know. Every single YouTuber has it, and it's like £7 from Amazon, and you just attach it on. So I've had it for a while.
Yeah, okay.
It sounds like a worthwhile investment if it prolongs the life of the microphone.
Yeah, that's what the YouTubers say.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to go into it then? Do you want to go into like
that.
why we want to fucking slap Elon to pieces of shit?
100%. 100%.
What I've got here, I think.
Where do we start?
I want to like summarize where we are with it. So can you see this?
Yeah.
You can see that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love what you've done, Kaz. Yeah.
So essentially, I just want to like, where the freaking hell? Why are we talking about Elon yet again? And I want to caveat it with, I still love Elon. Like, Elon is still one of the greatest minds of our generation. He's created 4 of the most important companies there are. I have no clue how he has time to be CEO of 4 companies, have 6 kids from 2 different women, and still be doing all this shit. But this is how he spent his weekend, and this is why we're talking about him and why he has become an enemy of Bitcoin. So I love Elon, but when he comes into Bitcoin, he's my enemy, and I will chase him out of town. It's as simple as that until he changes his mind and educates himself. And the reason for that is he started the week with suspending payments from Tesla that were in Bitcoin. He only added these like a month ago, and he's already withdrawn it. States a load of energy concerns that Bitcoin isn't energy efficient and it hurts the environment, so therefore he's pulling it. He then decides, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt on that one, thinking maybe this is his marketing team talking, maybe he's just bending to the woke crowd that is the Tesla customer base, to be fair, and maybe he's just virtue signaling a little bit, and he doesn't really believe this, and he's going to bring it back later, and he's kind of bending over. But the next couple of days, he doubles down on this statement.
Yeah, I was good with that first one.
Yeah, so he now doubles down completely on the fact that, does Elon believe this is legitimate? He completely doubles down on it and says it is. So he starts off saying he's talking to some Doge developers and trying to improve that, which looks promising, and everyone slates him for that. Then he goes, Just so to make sure I'm clear, I do believe in crypto, but it can't use fossil fuels. He then throws in there should be a carbon tax, which seems to be a veiled threat at maybe we should tax Bitcoin more or something. I don't even know what he's talking about. He gets criticized of some of the changes he's putting into Doge to say that what you're doing here is just going to break the network. Like, do you even know how blockchains work? And he just goes, you're bad at math. You can make transactions 100 times higher, volume 100 times higher, lower fees. He completely exposing the fact he doesn't understand how blockchain works and how Bitcoin works. And then he decides to change tact because he gets destroyed yet again. He's gone for environment, got destroyed. Then he goes for the fundamentals of Bitcoin and the scaling of Bitcoin, gets destroyed. So then he moves on to, but anyway, Bitcoin is centralized. Look at this, the coal miners, the miners in China own 35% of the hash rate. They got flooded and it all disappeared. That's not decentralized, is it? Just what? And then his final little comment.
Just on that point about decentralization, just before we go on. So obviously I'm still relatively new in the Bitcoin world, but how it just makes it slower, doesn't it? Like if you lose, the miners, so it just makes it a little bit slower. It doesn't make it, issues around
no, it does. It does. He's right. The fact that 35%, I'll come back to it and explain.
But it can still be replaced. It's not the fact that, I think his point is he's trying to say it matters, but it just makes it a little bit slower, from what I understand.
No. The fact is, like, if it is centralized in China, it basically means China can change Bitcoin. Just as Elon is trying to change Doge on a whim, he is suggesting that China could change Bitcoin and they could change the supply, they could change how many transactions, they could change the fees. He is fundamentally wrong. This little group of miners in China cannot do any of those things, which means it is decentralized. If it was centralized in China, then we would all have to bow down to a Chinese overlords in Bitcoin and just hope they never change Bitcoin. And at any point they could. All fundamentally wrong. And then he just decides to leave. His final tweet of the weekend is, someone's tweeted here, Bitcoin is going to slap themselves next quarter when Tesla dump all their Bitcoin, with the amount of hate Elon Musk is getting. And I wouldn't blame him. Elon replies just with a single word, indeed. Nice passive aggressive comment there, going, just so you know, I can dump $2 billion of Bitcoin on your ass, and I might do it just out of spite because fuck you guys. So that's where we are. That's the summary of it. So what Elon really has done there is he's stopped payments in Tesla, and he cited 3 reasons. It's not environmentally friendly, Bitcoin doesn't scale, and it's centralized in China. That's essentially what he's saying. So I can go through those 3 things and just debunk them so easily, just off the top of my head. So number 1, environmentally friendly. Let's just go through that one. Well, number 1, Bitcoin, 75% to 90% of Bitcoin energy that is required to mine it is powered by renewable energy, straight off. That's a huge percentage. And why is that? It's because renewable energy is cheaper. You can go to these remote locations where renewable energy is created, and it's very hard to get that renewable energy into the cities because they're largely powered by the nuclear power stations, the coal power stations. So they're having to travel huge distances to get to the cities. Bitcoin mining companies have gone to where the energy is, and they've set up right next to them because Bitcoin miners don't need lots of people. They don't need employees. They don't need cities. They just need machines and an energy supply. So they've gone to these low power, low cost energy places, which is why there's a province in China that has 35% of the mining capacity. That's because there's a huge amount of energy there, not very many people. So that is a unique value proposition that they have for mining. But there's mining in Iceland, in Russia, in Ukraine, in the Rocky Mountains in America. That's because of the climate control as well, because there's 2 things you need the energy for to mine. You need it to physically power the miner. You also need it for cooling because the miners get very hot. So being in a cold location is also a financial advantage because you don't need to spend loads of money on air conditioning. You can just open the door and the air gets cooler. So, and number 2, on energy, even if Bitcoin wasn't renewable and was a bad energy usage for the planet, we are trying to replace central banking and inflated governments here. That is a perfectly legitimate use of energy. It's just plain and simple. Like if we can fix that, like literally we fix the world. Like how many illegal wars, how many freaking lockdowns do we have to endure? Like if that takes some energy and a bit of damage to the planet, then surely it's worth it. Like even if Bitcoin energy was 100% fossil fuels, I would still argue the case that it's worth it. And it's so ironic that Elon is the one pitching this, because he comes from a company that is essentially trying to be the greater good for the world in Tesla. But to get going, he needs to mine the shit out of cobalt mines, various other minerals to create
Doesn't
batteries.
he use child labour?
What?
Well,
I don't
not
think he
him.
uses child. I don't think he uses
No,
child
sorry,
labor.
sorry, it's not him. It's the companies who it's use have no standards, and it's actually been shown up in the media.
Okay, exactly.
I think.
So when you really follow it backwards, how much fossil fuels and bad environmental damage does he cause by building a Tesla? It isn't zero, but still, I
also
believe,
lithium
and SpaceX.
Yeah, well, he uses fossil fuels to power every rocket, exactly. And he admits that like there's never going to be an electric battery that can power a spacecraft off the ground into space. You need fossil fuels because you need the explosion, and batteries can't do that.
And then the lithium batteries as well. I don't think those are very environmentally
The
friendly
lithium
at all.
batteries, yeah.
Like I think they're just as bad as normal fuel cars in my lifetime. So I know that he's improving things, but it just kind of think he's a bit of a hypocrite.
Yeah, it's essentially it's FUD. It's like energy FUD gets used against Tesla, and I think essentially it's a short-term hit for a long-term gain. And it's the same with Bitcoin. Like there's potentially going to be a short-term hit in energy whilst we have Bitcoin and central banks and governments. But once Bitcoin wins, the energy being used in governments and in central banking will drop considerably. And then suddenly now we have the long-term gain for the short-term pain. Moving on to the second point. Yeah, go on.
Why wouldn't he, as somebody that has proven that he could use like solar energy, be the advocate to say, well, I've got a solution to all of this, use my panels and then mine that way? And that hasn't kind of come up yet because, it's out there and he's central to that.
I think
create mining rigs which are more environmentally friendly.
Yeah. I think the reason why it hasn't, I have a feeling that Elon is getting his information from a shitcoiner. So he's flipping to the next. He's basically, there's proof of work and proof of stake. So proof of work requires mining. Proof of stake doesn't. So that's what he's flipping to. So instead of getting renewable energy for miners, he's going, you just don't need miners. Just do proof of stake. You have a load of nodes that just magically agree with each other. And then you don't need energy at all. And that's what Ethereum's moving to, and another other shitcoins have moved to. So I think in his head, he's thinking that is the end goal, going proof of stake. And so he's skipping the whole step of using
simply for the benefit of speed.
They're
doing that for the benefit of speed. Is that in terms of proof of stake?
Well, weirdly, it's a number of reasons. It centralizes it more, but they do a lot of the incentives for why they moved to that was to remove the environmental damage that mining, and so they didn't want to use as much energy. And to be fair, I'm glad shitcoiners moved to proof of stake because they don't need the energy. No one's trying to attack their network. No one gives a shit about it. So you might as well just run it on some Excel databases and just have Vitalik and a couple of other guys be able to edit them. You don't need proof of work where you've got tens of thousands of miners making sure the network is secure. He just goes in and edits it, gives himself more coins, changes the issuance. They do whatever they want to do. So if that's the environment you're living in, proof of stake is absolutely fine. If you actually need a robust, non-editable ledger of who owns what, you have to secure that network with something which isn't just trusting people. And Bitcoin secures its network in a shit ton of energy that you need more energy to overrule this network for a whole period of time to be able to change it. So that's our defense mechanism. We have monetized energy.
I like it.
So moving on to
third. 3,
on this whole scaling stuff, he basically tries to go just like 100x everything, and essentially what he's done by accident there, he's reinvented PayPal, which for someone that actually created PayPal is quite ironic. Like, Elon, this is fucking what you did 10 years ago, because he's trying to make Bitcoin
20,
into PayPal.
I think.
You what?
20.
Yeah, probably more like 20. Yeah.
I was going to say it was before SpaceX, and I think SpaceX was 2002 that kicked off.
Yeah,
so I want to say even 90s.
Yeah, it probably was 90s. Yeah, it's just time flies. So what he's trying to do is basically go, he's co-opted Dogecoin, and now he's just imposing his views on it, going, it needs 100x more transactions, 100 times faster blocks, and 100 times less fees. So essentially, he's trying to create PayPal. PayPal can already do all those things. They can do 0 fees if they want to. It's just they choose not to because they want to make money. So he's trying to impose his thing on Dogecoin there. What he fundamentally forgets is if you were to do that to Bitcoin, there's a very good reason why Satoshi picked 10-minute blocks that can only fit in 2,000 transactions, and the fees are what they are. It's because Satoshi is a fucking genius, and he thought about this for his whole life. You need 10 minutes to wait because the transactions need to go around the globe. There's 2,000 transactions getting put into every block every 10 minutes. It takes a number of minutes to reach consensus with all the nodes to agree on what money is being sent where. And the reason why that's so important is because it makes sure we stop the double spend problem, which is the key thing that Satoshi fixed. If you're doing it all instantly with 0 fees, it's suddenly now you open up the fact people can spend the same money twice. And there's no central kind of authority sitting in the middle, like a bank or a PayPal, to correct the errors. So the second you do that and someone receives a payment from someone in Bitcoin, and then it gets double spent and actually they don't receive their money, Bitcoin's broken. It doesn't work. Like, you can't transact value and trust that the transaction that came in actually came in. And so that is why you have 10-minute blocks, only 2,000 transactions. The reason for 2,000 transactions is because you wanted to keep the block small so anyone can run their own node. So you can run a node on a Raspberry Pi, £100, any single person in the world can run their own node. The second you 100x those blocks, which is exactly what Ethereum has done, by the way, and many other coins, suddenly now it costs £10,000 to buy a node because the blocks are so big, it takes so much energy, so much hardware space. You can't sync the node, you can't run it. Like, the average person just can't do it now. So it centralizes the coin. Straight away, now it's centralized. Only 1,000 people in the world can actually afford to run a node. Those 1,000 people now are the risk. They can be all arrested, change the protocol, and you're done. Can't do that on Bitcoin, nice small blocks. And then the fees, you need the fees to incentivize the miners to use the energy. So we pay them to do that. If you reduce the fees
and to do it correctly as well.
Yeah, like the miners to switch off if the fees are nothing. So you have to pay them to make sure they keep doing their job. So fundamentally, it's completely forgotten like why Bitcoin even exists. Why is a blockchain there? We're trying to stop the double spend problem. When you just 100x all the parameters, you'd completely break Satoshi's model. And you're now back to PayPal, where you need a centralized authority to correct the mistakes that are undoubtedly going to happen. And once you've got a single person that can do that, you've broken it. You basically just created a random bank that is very inefficient. You're done.
Yeah. So with that double spend, just digging into it, do any of your other popular cryptos solve that? So Ethereum, XRP, Doge, Litecoin, do they solve the double spend?
Well, Doge and Litecoin use proof of work, so they have it there. Ethereum doesn't, because they're kind of in the middle at the moment between proof of work and proof of stake. So at the moment, like Dogecoin, to a certain extent, like it's on proof of work. It has no transactions, so it's one of those where because no one's transacting in any of the other currencies, they're not transacting in it. So when you 100x like all the transactions on Dogecoin, for example, they have like 3 transactions every 10 minutes. Like the majority of the people that own Doge have never sent a Doge transaction because there's no one to send it to. They literally just buy it on an exchange, buy it in an app,
and hold it.
Yeah, and they just leave it. They never take control of their keys. They don't even take it out of the exchange. that would count as a transaction, but they don't know how to do that. They don't know what a hardware wallet is. So like, these shit coins just stay on exchanges forever. So the problem is, like, you raise a good point now, going, has anyone actually managed to double spend shit coins? It's like, I don't probably know many examples of them being able to. It's because no one is transacting in shit coins. So why bother double spending it? Right? Because the person you're probably sending it to knows probably what they're doing, because most of the people in shit coins literally have no clue what they're doing and just buy it and leave it on exchange, and no one is transacting in it.
I think it also comes back to the essence of Bitcoin and why Satoshi made it in the first place. First, as we've obviously established, to talk about the double spend rule, and then also going back to the classic scarcity of the 21 million coins as well. You know, he was trying to prove that theory that finite scarcity number of actual blocks, and then do that. And then obviously, as we know, as time evolved, it's then become a store of wealth and a store of value as well. But the initial key thing that he was trying to prove is the double spend theory, which is, you know, certainly achieved. And everything else is, you know, as we've already said many a time, is inflatable or could change at any point because it's centralized and not decentralized.
I know we've touched upon Dogecoin before, as in the shit coins, which we talked about, but with this whole Elon thing, the thing which I keep on coming back to is, why are you trying to basically reinvent fiat? You know, it's not an improvement on fiat. Literally, Dogecoin is done as a joke because it's fiat. It inflates every year automatically, whereas, you know, fiat has a greedy government inflating it. So, you know, it's literally you're making something digital. What on earth is the point in that? And that's what I keep on coming back to. What is the benefit of you using Dogecoin over cash? It now means that there's a record transaction of cash, so there's less things such as cash transactions, so the government can monitor what you're doing. So things like tradesmen can't collect cash, I suppose drug dealing, tax evasion, all those things are now monitored. But I'm like, but what's the actual advantage for the consumer to use Doge? And I don't actually know one apart from it's digital. So
and the 8,000 other shit coins as well that all were spawned from the fact that Bitcoin was born. I'm still puzzled.
Yeah, I think I know why Elon wants to do Doge. It's because genuinely he thinks in 50-year timeframes, and I think once he gets to Mars, he wants a currency for Mars, and he thinks it'd just be so funny if the native currency of Mars is Dogecoin. He just thinks it'd be funny. And because the thing is, like, when you think about him, he does. I think you're spot on, Ross. He is reinventing fiat. It's a centralized system. It's got all the problems with fiat. All the corruption can happen, but he, rather than pick a fiat system that is owned by a government, like the America or Europe or Britain or China, he's going, you know what? Let's just create my own fiat that's got a dog on it and it's funny, and I'm taking that to Mars. I genuinely
need something.
What he's doing.
Yeah. You're absolutely right when you say it like that, because they're going to need something, and it's like, well, why not take this and let's create a value in this? Because if you're in Mars, what is going to be the currency? To your point, why do we want to continue using US dollars? That was back on that planet. We've got something brand new over here.
Yeah, and Americans have too much of an advantage if you take dollars. Because you know, if you're Zimbabwean, Venezuelan, Spanish, whatever, suddenly you're like, well, what's my currency conversion? It's not fair. Why have you picked dollars? Why don't pick my currency? And then they have to convert to mine. So he's just gone, we need a new one. We need a native currency for Mars. I was probably thinking about creating one anyway. And then Dogecoin came along. That's funny. Everyone seems to like it. I'll take that.
But you're taking a flawed currency. You know, surely if you want to create a new civilization, you want to have sound money.
It's only flawed in our mindset. And I think, unfortunately, Elon is a statist. He is. Unfortunately, he is. And the reason when I realized this, it's one thing that I've always disagreed with Elon on, because he's the CEO of Neuralink, which is an artificial intelligence company. And I've heard him discuss it numerous times. And he genuinely thinks that artificial intelligence is the biggest threat to humanity, because he thinks it can go too far and could turn bad. Either people become too powerful that own the AI, or AI could take over and go aggressive at humans. So his solution to that is to create a government agency and a regulatory body that monitors all artificial intelligence companies and monitors them. So you can just see his default to fixing the issue is to get government involved. And that fundamentally is not a Bitcoiner's mindset, and we don't think like that. So I think when we see all the frailties of Dogecoin, he doesn't see them in the same way. He just thinks, well, I'm going to look after it. Don't worry. Chill. I've got it. And Bitcoiners go, no, I don't want to trust you. Like, Someone might
what
get
is
to
it?
you. Someone might put a gun to one of your kids' heads and go, change this and give me a load of coins, or your kid gets it. And you're going to do the thing. So we can't trust you, because in the history of civilization, every time a human being gets in control of the money, they either go corrupt or they get just like overthrown and someone corrupt replaces them. It always happens that way. So that's why we don't trust it. But in his mind, I don't think he sees it that way and goes, look, it'll be fine. Don't just trust me. I'll be good. And yeah, that's not going to fly with Bitcoiners.
I was just trying to establish what's the inflation rate of Dogecoin. So it's, what is it, sorry, I've opened up a tab, 5.2 billion per year. So that doesn't increase, does it? And that's out of 129.5. So I'm guessing the guy who created it created 5% out of, well, 5 out of 100, 5% inflation. But it'll become less over time, but still it's inflating. You know, it's still devaluing whoever holds their cash in it.
Yeah, and even that's a distraction. The fact that it's not centralized, or it is centralized, doesn't have decentralization. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's just got none of the fundamentals of Bitcoin. It makes it secure. It has no hash power. It has no transactions. We know who the founders are. Like all these things are just bang, bang, bang. Like just as we saw, like if Elon goes much further, he's going to get pulled up in front of Congress. Like, we saw what happened to Mark Zuckerberg when he just uttered the words Libra, and a white paper came out about what their plans were. Within weeks, they were hauled up in front of Congress, and they were like, Facebook's going to create its own currency, is it? What the fuck are you doing? And not only did they attack them on the currency front, they were very clever, because they used the currency as an excuse. And then they started going, actually, isn't Facebook really bad for the world? Didn't you like throw the election? Isn't this the reason why Trump is in power? Because of Facebook. Don't you need to be split up? Do you have too much power? They just went for the company. And Mark Zuckerberg.
And now he's in their pocket.
Exactly. Libra, you've never heard about that in the last 12 months. I can guarantee you haven't heard a single word about it, because Mark Zuckerberg shit himself. They went, cancel that project. Oh, and by the way, whilst you're here, we want to own you now. Like, and then you can see the censorship that's existed in social media ever since that whole thing happened. Elon is not far away from getting hauled in front of Congress as well. If he gets any kind of traction with Dogecoin, the US government are going to drag him in. And whilst he's in, they're going to go, oh, and by the way, these two companies you're running, Tesla and SpaceX, let's talk about those. And they're going to scare the shit out of him and go, you're getting too big. We might need to break you up. What's this? What's that? Like, your tweets are a little bit out of there. Like, and he can't meme himself out of that. He's going to be there. And he plays the status game. Like, he's playing by their rules, because he's building huge PLC companies in US jurisdiction. So
he also works for government, for NASA. You know, well, unless I'm misunderstanding, NASA is government owned. So he is he fundamentally is employed by them now, and it will become more and more. I suppose more and more money will come into his businesses from the government.
Well, he receives
tax breaks.
Tax break. He receives billions of dollars worth of subsidies for his renewable energy from the US government. So both of his companies are essentially funded by the US government in some shape or form, as well as customers.
What's the other one called? It was
Neuralink and Boring Company.
Oh no, there's another one which is about towns or cities. I can't remember what it's called exactly.
Oh, Solar City.
But
he baked that. He baked that into Tesla. Yeah, he acquired that and baked it into Tesla.
Fair enough.
So last week well, not just last week. I think I sent you the book at Bitcoin Hard Money You Can't Fuck With. There's a chapter in there talking exactly about when Mark Zuckerberg was brought in front of Congress, and you're absolutely right. You know, Libra, no more. But they were actually using Bitcoin as their ammunition to say, so you're in control of it. Because to our understanding, Bitcoin has no control, and so on and so forth. So, although we kind of look at, I guess, the government as kind of slow and dumb, when he was hauled in front of Congress, they were on it, and they were very, very sharp. And And to your point, we've not heard anything more about Libra, and I don't think that we will.
Yeah, I genuinely think that governments act incompetent. So when they do really corrupt things, a lot of people just go, that isn't intentional. They're just incompetent. But it's very telling when you attack their money, suddenly they become competent.
Well, exactly. I mean, he was at a point where he could have had over 2 billion people using his money as opposed to their money, not just Americans, the world.
Yeah.
They don't want that.
They were absolutely shit scared. They suddenly they don't see Bitcoin as a threat right now, but they saw Libra as it's going to replace the US dollar. Like, people are going to be transacting in Zuckbucks, and they shit themselves, and they dragged him in there, and they pretty much put a gun to his head and went, "You even try this, we will destroy your company and burn it to the ground." And he just went, "All right, project's dead. Please don't." And then went, "Actually, whilst we're here, you're fucking responsible for that Trump guy. We're going to stop that one happening again as well."
Well, I think it's not so much that they're not scared of Bitcoin. They can't do fuck all.
Well, the beautiful thing is there's no one for them to bring in front of Congress and do what they did to Mark.
Bring in Chad Saylor.
Yeah, exactly. And the beautiful thing is, the worst thing they could do to Chad Saylor is, like, if they put a gun to his head and went, "Look, we're going to shut down MicroStrategy and it's all over," all they could make him do is sell his Bitcoin. He can't do anything else. It's like, you can't stop the project like they did with Mark. They can stop the project. Libra is done. They bring in Chad Saylor. They can make him disappear and never talk about Bitcoin again. They can make him sell his Bitcoin. Bitcoin carries on. We lost a good guy. They got to him, but he's in the Caribbean anyway. He stays out of US jurisdiction. He's smart. He knows that the US government will come for him. That's why he sits in a tax haven. But there's no one that can bring it.
Isn't it interesting as well how time plays out? Because you've got the Winklevoss twins that are obviously big holders in both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and obviously their history with Zuck.
Yeah. That's why it was very interesting when Mark obviously called one of his goats freaking Bitcoin. It was, is he admitting that? Because that must be a hard pill to swallow, right? He hates those guys.
Yeah.
And they obviously took his money that he thinks that they stole from him, put it into Bitcoin at $100. And for him to now take his own money and be putting it into the same asset, but at $50,000, that's got to sting. That's got to sting.
But he is a billionaire. I think it's all relative.
I know, but he's a competitive guy, right? So he's like, I lost to them. Like, they were right, I was wrong. It's a big admission. So even though it's the right play, like, a computer just does the play. But we're human beings. It's like, no, I hate you, right? You bought Bitcoin at $100. I'm not going to buy it at 50,000. Go fuck yourself. No, I'd rather fucking lose everything than admit I was wrong to you.
So place of time either.
So after ranting on about Elon, do we want to talk about the Bitcoin correction? Because I think we were talking about that for Darnell turned up.
Yeah. So what is it?
Yeah,
we've now gone from, it depends on whether you're talking dollars or pounds, but it's like about 65 or 47,000 pounds, and we're now down to 30,000 pounds, and like, then was it $43,000? About a 30% correction. This is probably the biggest one of the bull run. So, like, how's everyone feeling?
Get rid of the paper hands.
I feel so good. I feel like, honestly, so good. Long may it last as well. And the reason I say it is because, similar to yourself, Ross, in terms of like having been in Bitcoin for a while now, but before I didn't really know, and before I didn't have the Bitcoin standard. If I'd have had the Bitcoin standard previously at the drop in 2018, when I could have been stacking sats, I would have been stacking sats, and I didn't. Whereas now I'm like, okay, bring on the cold winter part 2. Let it happen. So I'm good.
And by cold winter in this instance, like, we're in the middle of a bull run. So corrections, they're short term. They feel painful when you're going through it, but they're a couple of weeks. And like when you're in it, a couple of weeks feels like years. But when you really zoom out, like it was only like 2 months ago, we had the last 30% correction. That one was hurting everyone. Then we pump on up like another 100% up. Now we've come back 30% again. Everyone's hurting. Everyone's thinking it's all over. But all I'm thinking is
50% of all-time high, right?
What's that?
We're still 50% on top of all-time high. If we were using UK pounds of like, if 20K was the highest and now we're at 30, well, we're still above all-time high.
Yeah.
I think what will hurt a bit more is when it drops below my average. That'll hurt a bit. But it's ultimately having conviction around what we bought. You know, I didn't just buy in because I read an article. I bought in because I've used your app. I've read the Bitcoin Standard. I've read Layered Money. I've read various articles, lots of which you've published, Gats, lots which other people have published. So I wouldn't say I'm well read because there's much which I don't understand and there's much which I've got to learn, but I've got conviction in what I've actually bought into. And this is probably the most research, aside from the shares which I own in my company which I work for, of which I've actually done on an investment of mine. You know, the company which I work for, I've been working for them for donkey's years, so I know them. I know what they do. I understand the business, whereas for an actual investment, it's a lot more reading than I've ever done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done that, I guess, on the property front and done a lot in reading there. And I've also done the reading on money, just money in general, and money dying. And that's, of course, you know, the clear thing that we're seeing right now when the money printer goes, this is all that's happening and we need sound money. And ultimately, Bitcoin is that sound money investment of when things of what we're seeing right now in terms of the nature of the money printer, people getting paid by governments to stay at home, and it's just a joke, isn't it?
That is like the thing which probably pisses me most off about this current situation, is that sitting at home and getting paid. You know, it's ridiculous. It is possibly one of the most ridiculous things which has happened in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm going through probably a different stage to you, Darnell. I'm reading more about money at the moment. It's a year of education. But I mean, going back to the actual topic, one of my points which I've written down is it's still early, because if it's this volatile based upon one individual, we are still so early. So anyone who's thinking about investing, just remember it's very early for it to be this volatile about one individual putting out a statement.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I tweeted today that this bull run is boring. It's this is just Elon fucking about. Like, if you go back to 2017, we had real OG Bitcoiners attacking Bitcoin, saying the same thing to Elon saying, actually. They wanted bigger blocks, more transactions, lower fees. Bitcoin was broken, and they're trying to hack Bitcoin itself. And in the end, they forked off, created Bcash, Bitcoin SV. Vitalik left years before that and created Ethereum. Like, we were getting attacked from within, and these guys had access and lots of Bitcoin themselves. They had access to developers. They had control over large percent of the mining community. They could genuinely do damage to us. It was scary. The FUD back then was actually laced with real danger, that if these guys actually do what they want, they're saying they're going to do, they have the ability to do it. Elon comes in, it's literally just noise. He knows he can't affect Bitcoin, which is why he's just
gone.
Well, he has zero control. Like, he doesn't own any miners. He doesn't control any developers. He's just a voice. He's a billionaire with a voice. He's a celebrity. That's all he is to Bitcoin. He's a celeb. And then when you see Bitcoin correcting 30% based on a celebrity deciding he doesn't like Bitcoin anymore and he prefers Dogecoin, it's so beautiful, because you just go, the fundamentals of Bitcoin have not changed and are not even slightly at risk of changing. Back then, the fundamentals of Bitcoin were at risk. There was genuine people inside Bitcoin trying to edit Satoshi's code and break it. So Bitcoin had a genuine risk of being broken and not being sound money anymore. That is a genuine risk. And when I was living through that and seeing 30, 40% corrections, they were scaring me. Number one, because it's probably the first time I was going through this, but also the risks were real. It's complete bullshit. Like, if you understand Bitcoin and you see Elon just badmouth it and a lot of people sell Bitcoin because they follow Elon, you just laugh at it and go, the fundamentals of Bitcoin have not changed. They have no danger of changing. This is just a discount Bitcoin. It's Black Friday, 30% off. Buy what you can. Stack your sats today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish that I did have some dry powder for that. But
well, the beautiful thing is about this one, I didn't have dry powder until Elon went and fucked me off. So for the first time in 10 years, I am now officially not a Tesla shareholder. I sold every fucking one. I'm waiting for the money to hit my bank account. Once it hits it, it's being plowed into Bitcoin.
So you got Michael Burry on him and shorted him.
I don't want to short him. I don't want to see him fail, but I'm selling. So I'm neutral. Yeah. I'm neutral. Yeah, well, actually, I'm still positive. I'm still positive on Tesla and SpaceX. I still want them to do well, but I remove my money and stacked sats. It's a bit of a fuck off Elon, and maybe over time I'll buy a little bit of Tesla back. But right now, he's an enemy of Bitcoin.
They've got to improve their environmental factors. That cobalt, that lithium. They need to sort that out.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable.
I totally agree, Russ. I totally agree. And until you answer those questions, then I'm not going to buy.
See, I was thinking about buying Tesla. It was one of the investments which I've been watching to hopefully buy at the right time, or maybe just commit, because there's never a right time until you look back at it. But now I probably can't bring myself to buy.
Yeah. I don't think there'd been, I'll probably have to look back at it, but I recall Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett specifically saying that they wouldn't invest into Tesla because over the last 100 years, there's not been like an American car company that's been successful. Like, obviously, you've got Ford, you've got GE, but then you've got the likes of Hyundai and Nissan and all the rest of them
in
Asian. The East. Yeah, absolutely. That had obviously taken a lot of their market share because they could do it better and cheaper. And now we've seen, I think I saw something today where Lamborghini from 2024 will have their electric cars as well. So obviously Tesla's done something really good, but I think for them, they said, we don't believe in it. And those guys are obviously really well read, but not necessarily the most tech savvy. But on car companies, that I think they were quite key on, we don't think this is going to work long term.
Yeah, I think they've been fundamentally proven wrong on that, though, haven't they? Because I think they said that about 10 years ago about Tesla, saying there's not been an American car company that's ever made it. It's just too tough. And he's not only trying to go into the same sector and be an oil-powered car, he's trying to make it electric. So he's like doubling down on the difficulty. But now he's already the number one seller of cars in America is Tesla. So he's proven those guys wrong, and I think they're dinosaurs now. I honestly do think they're good guys. I like the Berkshire Hathaway guys, but the last 20
Charlie
years...
Munger.
What's that?
Fuck Charlie Munger.
Exactly. But the last 20 years, I think the last 20 years they've underperformed the S&P 500. They're done. They're done. Their day is done.
I think it's 2 or 3 times they outperformed it, and I think if you took away their investment in Apple, they would have got slaughtered.
Yeah, and they missed
Apple is one saving grace, but back to my point, Charlie Munger can go and fuck himself.
So can Warren Buffett can go fuck himself as well. They can all go fuck himself. He eats McDonald's every day. Like you can't trust someone that eats McDonald's every day.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bill Gates. But anyway, Charlie Munger's comments about Bitcoin, whereas at least Warren Buffett refused to comment on something which he didn't understand.
He's called I'm pretty sure he's called it rat poison squared.
Yeah,
No, I think that's
right.
Charlie Munger. Oh,
yeah. It was Charlie, I think.
yeah, Charlie's come out with it's kidnappers, extortionate, rat poison, disgusting, contrary, to civilization. So he said all this, very uninformed to make a decision like that. I mean, to make a statement like that, whereas Warren Buffett, I think he's just refused to comment on it.
Like, he has definitely commented on it, and he has not been.
Yeah,
he's.
And there's also been a guy that's been named as the greatest investor, as Jim Simons as well, who I came across, and he's like had about 66 x percentage in terms of like his returns, but not very well known. But so look into him, Jim Simons.
Yeah, I've just typed in Warren Buffett and Bitcoin. Yeah, he has said that. So fuck him too.
Yeah, they're both.
But I still do like him though. Obviously, you got to admire someone like that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like they were in their day. There's loads to learn from them. They came from nothing and they became billionaires. Like, fair play. Like, talk about low time preference. Freaking Warren Buffett is like low time preference. The fucking key. I remember watching a documentary on him where his wife was getting so angry at him because he wanted to do all these altruistic, like, nice things to the world and give back. And I think he grew his wealth from like basically nothing to about 10 billion. And his wife was going, isn't it about time we actually start giving back and doing some stuff now? And he's like, I haven't even got started like this. And he's like, I think he's about 70 at this point. And she's going, seriously, like, this is the time to start. And he's like, but I'm about to make it big. And it's like, you already are. And he ended up proving himself right because he went from that 10 billion to like 200 billion or something crazy over the next 10 years into his 80s. But his wife ended up leaving him and he didn't kind of care. He was like, I'm on my mission. And
she needs to sort her time preference.
She wanted to spend a little bit of money before she was 80. And to be honest, I'm on her side on that one. Like, just don't wait until you're 80 until you start spending a little bit of money. Like, fucking hell, Warren. Like, there's low time preference, and then he just ice cold.
He does think that he just continue for forever, and unfortunately, has proven a lot of people right. You know, he's staying in the game. He's 90.
What's he now, about 92 or something like that?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it works out when you end up getting to 92. But imagine if he'd had a heart attack at like 74. Like, he would have never spent a penny. So
yeah. I think you've got to be, shrewd with your money, as in, plan for, well, these are for normal plebs, plan ahead, and I suppose budget out your years. But when you've got 10 billion in the bank, you can probably afford to buy a luxury cruise or whatever his wife wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Should we get on to Revolut? Because
just gonna say, where's Darnell's picture gone?
He's probably like doing some dick pics for the fans again.
Yeah, for OnlyFans. Revolut, I think, obviously great step forward. I mean, we all love the app for stacking sats when we pay. But I have realised that my available money has started being absolute trash since I started using the 10 times.
Good.
Like, I never have any money, but when I look at it and go, it doesn't seem to be going up that fast. I just seem to have no money and no sats in my Revolut account.
Yeah, I love it because I literally call it like stealing from yourself, stealing from present Ross and giving to future Ross. That's what you're doing. But
it's hard for the mindset.
Hard. Yeah.
So I'm just having a quick look to see what I've got in. So I've got money. I bought some crypto through their app ages ago, and I think it's gone up significantly. But it's just sitting there because I've been waiting for withdrawal. And then the actual vault, it just doesn't seem a lot for how much it seems to punish me. And I went for the 10 times, and it's telling me, that I'm getting a bit into the account, but it just feels like I've never got any money. But I am also putting money into Bitcoin every week as well. So I think it's just it's doubling down on what I've ever done before. But, I didn't need a new pair of trainers. I put that off for about 2 months.
Yeah.
I put so much off these days.
Yeah, I was like, you can't buy a new pair of trainers because you need to buy sats. And then yeah, my trainers really did start to get a hold of them. I thought I'd better buy a better pair. So I'm a middle-aged man. I can't be walking around like a tramp.
Yeah, you got to do the odd thing. Yeah, but I think it's great. Yeah, I think I spoke like I've spoken to the Revolut support and I tweeted them to like call them out on it a little bit because they have introduced withdrawals, which is great. Because the problem with Revolut, when you do stack sats in Revolut via this change thing, I think it's great. I love it, and I always say I'm stealing from my future, my present self, and giving to my future self. So even though I stack sats independently outside of it, I give myself a budget each month anyway, and then I steal from that. I love the fact I steal from myself and
Steal from the budget.
yeah, I steal from my own budget, and I know I am, but I kind of secretly love it, and I still try and round things up to the pound. So I stack the full £10 into sats. I actually game it to steal more from myself. I secretly just, I don't know, I just love it.
And it's buying things like, I buy from Amazon, I get charged sats on top. So every transaction which I put through on it, I get charged extra. It's like, oh, I want to buy, a toilet flusher the other day because it broke and I don't want to have to go to shop because I'm going to be working. So I ordered it. You got punished with sats.
Yeah. And my brother always complains. He buys lunch and I think it's like exactly £4. And it's like, it ends up being 10 or £14. And he's like, my lunches are so expensive. I can barely afford to buy lunch anymore. And it's like, but now he's been doing it for like a couple of years and he's like, oh my God, the sats are so much. And like, there's so much. It's like, there you go. And like, because my overall is the amount of money I have spent on Revolut in fiat, I have more money in sats than I have ever spent on the app itself. So when you talk about stealing from yourself, like not only have I saved the spare change, it's like every bit of spare change, because Bitcoin goes up by so much, it is actually paid for the entire payment of the thing that I brought. The spare change became more than the payment. So I have more money now in Bitcoin than I have ever spent in pounds on Revolut. That is crazy.
So I purchased it. Well, I went with the package. What was it? Start of this year sometime as a bit of an experiment. I thought if I do it for a year, I'll be able to measure it probably by the end of the year because we're going to see, I thought, a bit of growth. So it cost, £129 or something for a year?
Yeah, 120,
so it's basically, you can tot it up over a year, and I think it gives you the analytics. So I'll be able to have a look to see what kind of return I've had on it. Because that's how I've looked at it. Is it going to get me back? I get a nice fancy card, but will I get more back over a year? I love the card, by the way. It is great.
Yeah. Every time
I need to invest in the card.
It is. I did it just for the card. They didn't even have Bitcoin payments when I got it. And every time you pay with that card, people grab it and go, "Oh, what's this?" They think it's like a really hard card to get. Like it's the ultimate black card. It's like that costs £10 a month. Like it's nothing. Like any moron can get that. Like
it's great for a single man. Only one of us is single though, guys.
There you go.
That was.
Yeah. You always never fully.
I might edit that part. That's what
I might edit that out. I don't want to hear it when I share the podcast to say what you think of this.
No, you're never fully single when you're single. But yeah, with
good change of tact.
Yeah. Well, the problem with Revolut, going back to Revolut, is the issue with it is you can withdraw, but like now I've realized the problem with it. You number one, you can only add 3 addresses to withdraw to, which is largely fine, and you have to legally agree that these addresses are owned by you, so you're not allowed to send it to anyone else. Which interesting. It doesn't really matter because once you get it out and it's in your wallet, then you can do whatever the fuck you want with it.
I was going to say, yeah,
it's probably for those kind of transactions for drugs, which are kind of doing
exactly
it for, aren't they?
Exactly, because what they would have to do legally, if it wasn't your address, say I was sending it to you, they would now need to KYC the address at both ends. So they need to KYC you. If KYC'd me, they now need to know who I'm sending it to. So the fact that it's the same person means the regulation is okay. But they've got quite big restrictions on how much you can send out. It's £500 a day and £1,000 a month, which for me, who's been stacking for like 4 years, that's going to take me, depending on the price of Bitcoin, like right now, it's going to take me about 5 years right now to get all of it out. And if the price of Bitcoin, I've got a feeling it's going to outrun me. So I reckon I'm not going to be finished withdrawing by the time I die. So,
Yeah.
I suppose one way to look at it is you got your main stack, and then that could be your potential spends for the rest of your life. You know,
yeah,
you've got your big store of value, and I
Yeah,
suppose
well,
that's.
yeah.
Because I think for me, I'll never get up to that situation. You know, even if it gets up to, I don't know, £1 million a coin, because I just don't think I'll ever really see that much. But I just figure it's a good way of saving.
Yeah, well, I think I'm in quite a unique situation because I spoke to their support and they're like, well, everyone can withdraw it in a couple of months. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, look at my balance. It's going to take me fucking forever. And they went, oh, yeah, sorry, there's nothing we can do. I'm like, what? So the only really way of me doing it is to actually sell it. The problem is Revolut's fees are stupid. They're like 2.5%, which is crazy high.
Oh.
It's crazy high to sell it at 2.5%. Yeah. Like I'd much rather sell it on an exchange. And then obviously it's a taxable event. So I get taxed, I pay the 2.5%. Then all I want to do is buy the Bitcoin back and put it into my cold storage. So that is why I just want to withdraw it. I don't want to sell it. So that's the issue that I'm in. So essentially I always kind of knew it anyway. The Revolut stack was always going to be that's always going to be, if I'm going to sell any Bitcoin, that's going to be the Bitcoin I sell because it's number one, custodial, number two, it's kind of stuck and just, the stuff on my ledger is.
It's like a beauty pageant, isn't it? It's just there.
Yeah. If I just screenshot it to send to you guys to show how much it's gone up to anymore. That's the only reason I got it.
Yeah, then we can all cry about how little we've got on ours.
Yeah. Mine's like 35 quid right now, given the price of Bitcoin. But I only really started using it the other month. So yeah, but I need to, I need to.
How many times are you doing?
2 times at the minute, but I need to 10x it.
Yeah,
I went 10x. I thought once I got rid of some of my expenses, I went 10x it. Let's force myself.
I don't think you announced you 10x'd it because I think you 2x'd it or something, and I was like, you'll be a real Bitcoiner once you press that 10x, and you've pressed it. Well done.
I don't know how long though. It's been a while because it's been bloody painful for months. I need a pay raise just to deal with this.
No pain, no gain. Darnell knows this in the gym.
I know this, exactly that. And you've seen I've been putting in some rides, Ross. You know, after our ride last week that didn't happen.
What, a 1 mile ride?
Yeah, literally, not even that, was it? I did about 6 and a bit when I got home. So whilst you're in your pajamas, I unloaded the bike and went round the block.
I did the route on Sunday just to do it, and it's got quite a lot of climbing in there. And it said what, 2 hours 47 or 50, I think it was. It took me 2 hours 10, and I don't think I was really busting a gut.
Oh, nice.
So I have to do that. I suppose the pain and gain, I suppose, comment is end of June, 100-mile ride.
Yeah.
Mr. Walker and myself.
Definitely. So what we got here, Bitcoin car at the 105th Indianapolis.
I'm glad I actually found the right thing because I was having a look into this and it's saying sponsored by Bitcoin, but it's Strike, isn't it?
Yeah. So Jack Mallers, by the way, is an absolute legend in Bitcoin. And so
I've got a cool quote from him, which I found in an article. So this year, Ed is racing for human freedom, financial literacy, financial inclusivity, and is using the platform he's earned throughout his career to promote the most powerful message possible in pushing humanity forward. We're tremendously proud to support his efforts.
Yeah,
that's a really cool statement. You know, someone who absolutely loves Bitcoin.
Yeah, Jack, I would really encourage you because he's a young lad. I met him in Vegas actually last year, and he just founded Strike at the time. And he's probably like 25. He's quite a young lad. But he speaks incredibly well about Bitcoin. He is so smart. He's built one of the biggest payment companies in Bitcoin already, and he's just nailing it. And this is a bit of a marketing ploy. So he's sponsoring this car. Bitcoiners can sponsor it. You can go on his website and send him some Bitcoin, and it helps sponsor this car. And it's just a bit of marketing. And I think it's a little bit of a throwaway thing because Bitcoin doesn't need marketing. I don't think putting Bitcoin on a car really is going to do that much. But because the thing is, like, it does bring back kind of 2017 PTSD for me, because there was a Dogecoin car back then as well. So it doesn't mean there was a Dogecoin it was a NASCAR. This is Indy 500, but they did a NASCAR of Dogecoin, and yeah, so anyone can do it. You don't need that much money to sponsor a car like this, but fair play that he's doing it. And then I just had a bit of a hat tip over here on the right hand side to Jessica Vaughan, who's a Bitcoiner. She's also a Playboy bunny, and I think a bit of a glamour model. And me and Mark were like, I mentioned her in a tweet to Mark over this week, and she just slid in the DMs and not the DMs, but she slid into the DM, and she liked the comment.
Yeah, we don't want to be saying DMs in front of your missus when she watches this.
Yeah.
Hey, Jessica Vaughan. If you're a Bitcoin, she's also read the Bitcoin Standard. It's one of her pinned tweets. Is she's read the Bitcoin Standard, and that's a hint. Any girl that wants to have an in on a Bitcoiner, read the Bitcoin Standard, and we're putty in your hands.
This is an interesting thing, actually, that these guys are sponsoring this, because I just saw that the exchange FTX are sponsoring the Miami Heat, so the basketball team, and they've got a 19-year deal worth $135 million, and they are renaming the stadium. So I guess the Heat aren't on fire right now anymore, because they used to have LeBron, and they used to have Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh once upon a time. So they were their three big men. And then they also, once upon a time, used to have Shaquille O'Neal there. But Miami is a pro-Bitcoin city with Mayor Francis Suarez, all pro-Bitcoin there. So he's like, yep, come on, I'm all for this. So as a city, I probably would guess that there's going to be some conferences happening in Miami, and Mayor Francis Suarez will be there backing it. But just reminded me of that car.
Yeah. Well, Bitcoin 2021 is June 1st and 2nd in Miami.
There you go.
Biggest conference of the last, there's 20,000 people have signed up or something. The biggest conference up until now in Bitcoin has been 2,000 people. 20,000 have signed up for this one. So it's a year of pent up demand, admittedly, because of lockdown, but it also just shows the amount of new people that have got in, because the tickets have just sold out like wildfire. And
what is it about Florida at the moment? You've always had them in the past what a dump it is, and Florida man, and now they just seem to be
low tax, by the way, because people have moved from the other states, such as
but their governor as well,
California.
But their governor's on fire, Ron DeSantis. Miami. It just seems like Florida and Texas are where it's happening now.
Yeah, they're just
also
on it.
Something else on that car, number 21 as well, which we haven't mentioned. A little cheeky reference.
Is it number 21? Is it?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, it's beautiful. There's Bitcoin references everywhere, I'm sure.
Nice.
And then the another bit of news story I wanted to throw in was Pomp.
Is this
Pomp.
Oh. So is this the so it is what I thought it was, because you put eatbitcoinpizza.com, and I was just I had a good Google, and I was just is it about the anniversary of the 22nd of the 5th?
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Of the most expensive pizza ever, 303 million by today's money. So 383,792 pounds and 70 pence when I had a Google on it.
Yeah. So I think so basically Pomp of the Pomp podcast and many other things, which actually incidentally, Jessica Vaughan, who we just mentioned, she was on the Pomp podcast today. So it hasn't come out yet, but that links to two stories. But yeah,
right.
So he's I'd be interested to hear what she got to say, actually, because I've seen some of her tweets on Bitcoin, and they seem quite coherent, and she seems to get it. So it'll be interesting to hear her for an hour with Pomp to see whether she really does get it or whether she's just LARPing. But this is Pomp's it's a bit of a joke, I think, and it is the Bitcoin pizza anniversary this weekend. So he's literally just created a Bitcoin pizza like company here where they're partnering with pizza companies all around the globe, or all around America actually, and they're giving them all these Bitcoin pizza boxes, and you can buy pizzas like no keys, no cheese, laser eyes, capital greens, and Satoshi's favorite. And you can't pay in Bitcoin, which he's got a lot of shit about, but you can pay in fiat, and then you get your Bitcoin pizza. All these pizzas are like.
Why do you want another £303 million pizza?
It's probably why it was probably wise, isn't it, to inform people not to pay for their pizza in Bitcoin, same as coffee or any other small transactions. Right now, between I guess the present and the next halving, just stack sats.
Yeah, just have to hope Starbucks doesn't start accepting Bitcoin, otherwise Mark's fucked.
The problem is, like, in reality, like, if you're holding fiat, then you're already screwing yourself out of the Bitcoin gains anyway. So it's one of those where whether you have fiat and spend it on pizza, or convert your fiat into Bitcoin and spend it on pizza, like, either way, if you're buying a pizza, you're screwing yourself. It doesn't matter if you spend it in fiat. Like, every payment you do in fiat, you need to look back in history and go, oh, that could have been 100 times more in Bitcoin. So it's one of those where I do think if you're going to launch bitcoinpizza.com, you do just accept Lightning or accept Bitcoin. He should have done that bit, because that's the number one criticism. But it's great because the fact that the big thing behind Bitcoin Pizza and why Pomp has done it is the price of these pizzas is quite inflated. So there's probably like a 20 to 50% premium on each of the pizzas. So that 20 to 50% premium, 100% of the premium is going to Bitcoin developers. He's donating it. Right. So the rest of the money goes to the pizza house who's building the Bitcoin, building the pizza and delivering it. The rest of the money goes straight to Bitcoin developers, as going to a charity that basically funds Bitcoin developers to work on the protocol. There's no direct way of paying Bitcoin developers. It's not really a thing. There's no real ecosystem around paying Bitcoin developers.
It's like Bitcoin Developers Union.
Yeah. Because with the miners, they're baked into the system. Satoshi thought about them, and they get paid every block. It's nice and simple. The economics are just done. If you're a developer, they're by and large voluntary, and you just got to hope they've got a stack of Bitcoin and they are developing to help secure their investment. But it's nice to actually give them a wage as well, and actually give them money that they can then stack sats on the side as well. Yeah. So this is one of the initiatives that does it. It seems great. If I was in America, I'd be buying some Bitcoin pizza this weekend, but I'm not, so I can just admire it. And I love little things like this. It's just great. And it looks great. Pomp's got a lot of shit for it already. And I think it's a shame. Bitcoiners are harsh, and unless things are 100% pure, Bitcoiners just destroy it. And this is like 90% pure. Like, it's good. It's just fundamentally a load of money from this initiative is going to get to Bitcoin developers, and then a load of people can get some pizza. Come on, that's all right. So,
yeah. And I think Pomp does get a lot of shit, but for things like this. But he's also created that crypto jobs board as well, for people, to create people to move from normal corporate into the Bitcoin world or crypto world. So I think more people should be doing things like that.
Yeah, well, I think
I did have a look through that for the jobs. I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
Lost his boss.
Anything take you fancy?
I can't say I did, but I was just interested to actually know what was going on. So I think he posted on Twitter, and I just went onto the link.
I think Pomp wants a chief hand jobber. You might be. It pays a couple of sats an hour.
Sounds reasonable. It's like a job you can love.
Yeah. What was the next topic?
We got a nice sensible one here, haven't we? The rise of central bank digital currencies. Which
I think this kind of fits in. I kind of thought, it almost fitted in with Dogecoin. Because, from what I understand, it's fundamentally the same. They're just creating digital fiat again.
Well, it's kind of like it's two things. You're absolutely right. It is digital fiat, but it goes back to what we've spoken about before about central bank controlling individuals and maybe getting them to move away from fiat into CBDs. And then once you're in that, they then can understand where you spend your money, but equally recoup tax straight off the bat. So if you're in that, they can say, okay, this year you owe us this much. And rather than you having to file for your tax return, they can just be like, oh, well, we'll just take it out of the central bank digital currency straight away. And also, so the way that I've seen it, and again, reading that book, Bitcoin, Hard Money You Can't Fuck With, is in China, this is happening already. And obviously, if you do certain things based on the, I guess, the control that the government have, they can ensure that, right, you're not allowed on that train, like the fast train that might take you to work, or you're not allowed to travel because you've violated a law that we're not happy with. But then they can also go the stage further of, oh, you've given to a charity that we've not approved or that we don't like, and you voted in a way. So it goes beyond just the actual money itself, and it's going back to the control. And as we know, Bitcoin gives you the control and not the government the control. So that's why I wanted to bring it up and obviously discuss.
Yeah, where did you hear about the fact that they would automatically like take your tax automatically? Is that the bank saying that, like, or who's saying that?
Yeah. That was again in the book, Hard Money to Fuck With,
it's in the book.
And that. So that's what they're planning on doing. I mean, the fact that I think the stats on the number of people that they've stopped from flying was about 5 million or so in China, and about 17 million in terms of certain train rides because they violated things that they believe they don't want them to be doing.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, it's crazy because
vegetarian.
Yeah, it's scary. Exactly, it's scary.
Yeah, because it's crazy because the fact that when you talk about central bank digital currencies and opposed to crypto, you think they would be slightly aligned because they're just the same thing, but someone else owns it. But actually, in reality, they are complete polar opposites because I hate saying crypto, but essentially Bitcoin was created to be self-sovereign and independent and have just privacy of how you spend your money, where you keep it, who you interact with, who you trade with, completely down to you. That is why Bitcoin was created. And the banks are coming along going, oh, we've got our own version. It's the same, but a little bit different. And in reality, it's like completely opposite because literally this gives them complete surveillance, complete control. They can freeze your money whenever they want. They can watch whoever you're sending it to, whatever it's for. They can judge you exactly, like they can block you from certain train rides because if everyone uses the same digital currency, they can know who you're interacting with. They can follow your identity, attach it to your money. And it's China in a nutshell, but for the globe. And it's super smart of them. Like if I was them and they're realizing that fiat is failing and they need to reinvent it and like give it a new shine and cryptocurrency is rising, just tag along and go, oh, here's the new crypto, but this one's backed by governments and by banks. Trust this, like it will never fail because we've never failed. And so I get it, but it's ironic at how different it is.
It's a wolf in sheep's clothing basically, and trying to align it to the new hot thing of like cryptocurrency and Bitcoin when it's completely the opposite. Again, it's just classic government spin.
Yeah, and it's an excuse for them to get rid of cash because they hate cash. Cash is actually the most genuinely anonymous payment you can ever do, because no one knows.
Their biggest threat.
Yeah, it's they hate cash, because you can just take that out of a bank, and I can pay people cash in hand, and they have no clue that transaction happened. They want to delete that, and I think that's a big reason why they've created like this whole pandemic thing. It's another reason to go, oh, cash is genuinely dirty now. It can spread a pandemic. So delete that. Let's go digital. And in reality, all that really means is that now we can track every single transaction, because the only reason why drugs is still such a huge business is because cash exists. No one's doing bank transfers to their drug dealer. Not if you're sane anyway. And if cash disappears, like, how do you buy drugs now? You have, well, to a certain extent, you have to go off and start spending some Bitcoin in a wallet that's like coin joined four hops away from yourself. And that's a lot harder.
See, I was thinking about this because it was like tax evasion, money laundering, and obviously things like drug dealing, which I want to stop. So for drug dealing, like you said, how do they get around that? And it would either be, what you do, turn up with like 4 Goodfellas pizzas or something for payment. You know,
you're back to bartering.
Yeah, exactly. You basically you'd have to give products. So you give some product to the drug dealer, but the drug dealer's got to pay his drug dealer. What does he give him? And it's basically be a chain of bartering, and somehow there's got to be cash introduced, so it does kind of make it fall flat on its face.
It comes back to Bitcoin, doesn't it? You just got to coin join your Bitcoin, so it's away from your KYC'd account, and now you can exchange value safely. You just got to make sure you do it don't do it directly from your Coinbase freaking account straight to your drug dealer. Like, send it to a wallet, coin join it a couple of times, put it to a wallet that isn't attached to yourself, and now it's safe. Now you can do what you want with it, and it's anonymous, and now you got your privacy. But it's harder. That is a lot harder for people than just taking out 50 quid from your bank and then giving it to your drug dealer down the road.
Yeah.
It's a lot tougher.
But if you're gonna have like a central bank which deals with digital cash, government owned and so on, how are you going to get your money into Coinbase? Because with that level of control, they're not going to want to let it go into another currency. And that's what kind of level you get to when you get to this kind of like government central bank. Because we're not going to have HSBC, we're not going to have Santander, we're not going to have Revolut if this comes in. It's going to be the UK bank, and everyone banks with the UK bank.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And also it can be linked to your credit score as well.
You get full-on digital identity through this, affordability, everything, the whole works, the kind of stuff which I've talked about, but I think it will happen at some time. And that kind of suggestion when I was reading through this, it's scary, but one thing which we can trust the government to do is fuck it up. So accidentally wiping people's accounts, ruining credit, outages, things like that, because, you know, I don't know how to say this in the nice possible way, but the government is not known for doing things properly.
Yeah.
It's the whole Black Mirror episode, isn't it? Where there's that girl that's just trying to get a house in a certain neighborhood, and you need a certain level of score to get in there. And she talks wrong to the cafeteria, and he doesn't like her, they downgrade her. And it's a horrendous world where we genuinely have digital identity, and every single interaction we get marked and graded on it, and it attaches to our money. It depends on where we can get property. It depends on who we're allowed to have relationships with. It depends where you can have jobs. You just don't want this authoritarian thing. You want just let people be people. And if we digitize completely everything, it doesn't look like there's a good end game there. And this is digitizing the money to this extent and attaching your identity to it. But all you got to do is go, who's owning it? It's almost, if someone like a freaking Elon, like bring it back to freaking that, if someone like him was owning it, I would be slightly more positive. But this is the banks, which the banks are inherently the government. And I know they don't have our best intentions at heart. They are just going to use it to control us, a reason to put us in prison, a reason to stop us from investing in certain things because they only want their mates to. It's just not going to be positive. So I just reject it completely. It looks like a scam. It's fiat rebranded. Fuck this. Bitcoin's the answer, not this.
You kind of think
it's a scam.
In the extreme case, I'll be looking at your transaction history and what you've actually bought. So if you do want to go into hospital for, say, liver treatment, I know you've been drinking too much, you've been to the pub, we can see you bought alcohol on these dates, or you're a smoker, you buy fatty food, sugar, whatever. I just don't think this goes down where people think it will. I think this leads us down a really bad route, which we are currently going down at the moment.
Well, ultimately, I think that's what they want, though. That's exactly what they want. They want to be able to see everything. And if all our money is currently going to Mr. Bezos, then okay, we want to see what exactly is going. Because at the minute they can just see Amazon, but they can't see the granular detail behind. Okay,
they'll put GUIs in or something, some kind of unique transaction hash, which they can then unencrypt. No doubt. It is Black Mirror stuff, and this is the kind of stuff where I think we are in danger of going. But hopefully Bitcoin does break that.
Yeah, because at the moment I think they can largely they can track any payment over 10K, then they get a report of it directly with the KYC attached. But this just takes them to everything below that as well. So I think they're getting greedy. They're getting greedy because anything 10K and above, that just means it's probably a taxable event. So they want to get paid on it. But now they've decided, you know what? We just want to know everything. And they could get it. They could go and ask all these companies to give them the transactions, but it's a huge amount of work. And they've just gone, you know what? If we just own the currency in the middle, and that's so much simpler. So they're trying to bring this out.
And they'll elbow out HSBC or all the high street banks, and you'll be taking loans and mortgages from the government who you'll be paying interest, so they'll be double taxing you and all sorts now. It's
a scam. I don't actually even have confidence in them rolling this out properly. I don't think it will even become a thing.
Oh no, we couldn't. I was just trying to think some examples of the UK government of what they failed to roll out. They couldn't even do a hardware rollout to the NHS. A hardware rollout of computers. They couldn't do a database rollout to the NHS. What else have we got in there? Which have majorly. They wanted to roll out European standard identity documents back in, when was it, 2006? They couldn't even bloody do that. Yeah. So that's the positives coming out here, is they have a track record of failure. Yeah. But this is, this isn't just a hardware rollout for hospitals, for doctors, for the plebs. This is something which would give them complete control. So it does put the ante up for them.
I mean, it also goes into what we were talking about the other week of the health passport as well, doesn't it? It could start off with the health passport and then, here's some money that's linked to you having the health passport, and it's seen as an incentive. And that's the way that you probably have to spin it first as a positive. But again, it's the wolf in sheep's clothing of, well, it's not an incentive, it's just another way to be able to monitor you. Oh, and by the way, this is the way that we're going to do everything right now. And it's all linked.
Yeah. And the bootlickers will think it's good at first.
Yeah.
They'll be saying how good it is. And when their daughter or son's been thrown in prison because they bought Big Macs on 2 consecutive days, they'll still be telling everyone how good it is.
Yeah, because it leads us nicely on to the fact that this week I got 2 text messages, one from my local doctor saying I'm now eligible for the vaccine. 2 days later, the NHS themselves text me saying I'm eligible for the vaccine. And then 3 days later, I got a letter through the post from the government going, you're eligible for the vaccine. So you can just really see them really hammering this home, like at each level, like local to like top of the NHS to now government. And each one was slightly hinted with like this passive aggressive tone of, you need to
hurry up and do it. Yeah, like, do it.
We're not helping you here. This isn't like them kind of offering in like an olive branch to be like, this is something you want. It's like, it's more of a, we're already going to assume resistance, and fucking do it. Like it's, right now I reckon I'm about 60-40 into getting it, which I hate the fact that I'm there because I want to go to America. I'm nearly sure that America's going to require the vaccine to get in. I also want to travel to Europe. And so I'm literally going to get it purely because I want to travel, but I'm only 60-40. So at the moment I'm still pondering it. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have got these text messages and letters yet. If you haven't, then they're coming soon because
I think I got one today.
They're doing it by age range. So
I've personally just given up with it because I'm just like, it's going to happen. I think we're too deep into this, but
what does that mean? You're gonna get it? You're gonna comply and just take the vaccine?
I don't want to, but I feel like I've got no option. Literally, if I don't, I'm going to start getting restricted services. I'm going to start not being able to travel abroad. But the one thing which I'm saying no to is I don't want my kids getting it for another 5-10 years time because it is not fully tested. Like there's a difference between me and fucking up the whole of my kids' future lives. And like my wife was trying to tell me that it's all right. I was just like, it's not. People have died. They do not fully know. So I think there's got to be a bit of weight before it goes out to kids because I think that's completely unfair to test it on kids.
Well, it looks like that's coming because they're at the late 30s now, which is why I got hit. They're coming down.
They tried with the kids, but I think something pushed back. I think there's something happened in another country. I can't remember what it was. So I think that's off the table for under 18s at the moment, at least.
Okay, well, that's great news. The fact that under 18s get the free pass, that's fantastic.
We'll have to wait and see because they said that they're going to get a free pass at first, and they started going for them, then they backed off. So we just don't know. But one thing
they want their money. There's too much money per vaccination for them to let them go. It's horrendous. But we're literally in like this is literally like a sales deal where like you just want to sell as many as you can, and it's not about health. It's about money and. Not letting like the under 18s is a huge freaking demographic. There's a lot of people under 18. That's a lot of money, and that's what they're looking at. And
it's a recurring model, isn't it, as well? Because the 17-year-olds will turn 18, and we need to get them. And then obviously, once you've gone for your first jabs, as in like your first and second, then it's your annual renewal.
Yeah.
And so there's more money.
But then we're going to make it digital. And then we're going to attach it to bank details. And then we're going to attach it to your spends. And then we're going to attach it to education. Then we're going to attach it to your criminal record.
It's like they're already talking about the thing that makes me laugh is the fact that the vaccine that they're rolling out right now in the UK, this is the original COVID-19, whichever fucking variant that is. Like that's what they've created a vaccine for, right? The last 6 to 8 months, they've talked about the American version, the Germany version, the Indian variant, like all these different variants. So clearly,
have you not heard the updates on the Indian?
No.
So this has been brilliant. So I've been sitting there kind of going, okay, I can't remember what the figures are, but it basically works out to being equivalent to 150 people dying a day in the UK, which is, in terms of India, because it's 1.2 billion, they just don't notice. It's literally, it's just that bit across the top.
It's like 0.0001%.
Yeah, but times it by what's a population bigger? It's bigger than 20, so 150 times by 20, so it's 3,000 a day. And everyone's going, my God, 3,000 people a day. It's just like 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion in a country which has got extreme riches but extreme poorness. Yeah. So you've got a lot of diseases
and mass
going
crowding,
right there.
I'm sure, as well in certain areas.
So it's been going on and on through the media, and they're going, oh God, it's got into the UK, it's got into the UK. And then, so it's like, we may have to lock down. And I was just like, I swear I know where this is going. I know where this is going. And it's like, then it was announced today, oh yeah, it appears that the vaccine can handle the Indian variant. And I was just like, I fucking knew this was part of the drive for the vaccine. I fucking knew it. It was just coercive. It's been coercive. It's been coming for the last 2 weeks. And I knew it was coming. Literally, I remember thinking to myself, I bet if this is coming, but I don't want to say it because it'll make me sound stupid. But sure enough, it's come.
They actually said that. Yeah. They actually said that the vaccine works against the Indian variant. Has only existed for 2 months.
Yeah. The initial findings so far show that it does, but in a couple of days meant to be making an announcement about it.
Yes.
So this is the whole thing about coercing everyone to have the vaccine, and I just went, I knew this was coming, and it just seems like
reveal,
a way,
won't it?
It's a way to hammer, because they talk about that certain races aren't big on the uptakes at inner city. So Indian people using the example. So they're saying you've got to take it, because it'll save you now, because all the people who are Indian, they're bringing it back from India from the weddings and funerals that they've been attending.
Wow, that is hilarious. That is,
but it was a proper strategy, because, like I said, you look at the figures. And I discussed this with my wife, and she said
they'll buy into it.
She said, there's unrecorded deaths. You double the Indian deaths, it's still the equivalent of 300 a day in the UK. So it still doesn't fit with the amount of panic which has been going through the media. So something has been happening.
Yeah, well, it really angered me when they were showing like all the funerals in India, because they burn people outside.
The pyres.
Yeah, and but the thing is, that is how they do traditional wedding funerals in India. It's like they do burn them outside. Like if that was happening in the UK,
is it a Hindu custom?
Yeah, exactly. It's part of their religion that's the way they see people off when they die, and they took photos of these funeral parlors doing this, going, and it obviously, if you saw that in the UK, that would be crazy, because you're like, oh my god, like the funeral parlors are so full, they're burning people outside because they're too busy. And that was the impression they gave, and it's just completely wrong. It's like, you could take that same photo from the same location at any point in the last 10 years, and it's the same. It's like, that is how they do their funerals in India. It is shocking culturally to us in the UK, but it's just normal there. And it's like, but they're trying to imply the fact that COVID has hit them, that suddenly now that's
the only way that they can cure it.
It's really annoyed me, this little one about the variant, because it's always been a pile of shit. But there's a rumor shooting around that India have significantly lowered their infection rates by using two drugs, which WHO and CDC have recommended no one uses, which is the hydro, whatever it's called, which Trump recommended at the start. And another one which is, same kind of circumstance, where it was developed so many years ago, but there's not much money in it because generic versions can be produced.
Yeah, that's the thing, exactly. They wanted to create a specific vaccine. It wasn't, if an existing drug could be used to cure the pandemic, there was no money to be made. So that is why they rejected the existing drugs. So when Trump found one and went, this probably fixes it, they went, how dare you conspiracy theorist, you freaking murderer. This is the only way. It's like, oh, right, that's the one that you've patented this year, that it's not generic yet and you can make a shit ton of money off. That's the only answer. Right. Everything else is no. This is the only yes. And then individual countries are slowly but surely realizing, there was loads of drugs on the market that, oh, wow, what a surprise, combat the flu. And it's, yeah.
Do you think this is why they silenced Trump?
Oh, it's one of the many reasons. Like, he wasn't part of the system, so they needed him out. But they this was a beautiful excuse, because he went, whichever side of the pandemic he went, like they were going to go on the opposite side and use it to get rid of him, and it worked a treat. I think it's just convenient. But where are you on it, Dan? Are you your text? Or...
Well, yeah. My text was exactly that this morning. So to book my vaccine, and I'm like you guys, like I love to have the fight against them, but on this one, they've won. They've worn me down, and I feel like I'm agreeing under duress, but yeah, I'm just going to do it because I want to be able to get outside of these four walls. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to just live my life and have zero restrictions, but I'm giving up my my ability of choice by simply being able, like by simply saying, yeah, okay, give it to me and let's crack on.
It's so bad, doesn't it? for me, this literally feels like, you know, like have you ever watched Darren Brown and the way he does his mind tricks? Like he literally, like the way he like imposes his will on you to basically trick you into thinking a certain thing is he will talk to you for a period of time, and then he will start touching you. And every time he touches you, like it will jog certain like emotional feelings in you, and it will jog back. And like, so each time he like hits you, you'll think like red car or something. And then I can make you look at a car and it's blue. And if I tap you on the shoulder, you'll tell me it's red. And it literally just feels like that with the vaccine. It's like they've told us for an entire year, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. The virus is dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. Going to kill you, going to kill you, going to kill you. And at the end, they go, take the vaccine. It's like the tap on the shoulder, which just goes, let's just really fucking cement this to go, it's dangerous. And then they plug it in. And it's like, it's the final like conviction of just the end of the mind control, and to a certain extent to go, right, yeah, you're ours. Like the fact you let us put a needle in your arm really confirms you believe. And it's just, I hate the fact that I'm fucking complying to it, because the problem is, it's like with everything, like whenever you look at totalitarian fucking governments over the history of time, it always starts with something small and it gets bigger, 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 bigger. And in the end, we're just rounding up groups of people that are a certain demographic and just marching them into the freaking gas chambers because the government said so. Like, and it all starts with something small and then it gets bigger and bigger. And it just feels like, is this the first, well, one of the first things? Like they started with lockdown a little bit, then they started lockdown a lot, then they started going, you can't travel, then they said you can't hug your grandma, and now they're going, take the vaccine. It's like, where does this go? And by complying, am I just allowing them to do the next thing, which is
exactly,
and I don't know what the next thing is, but I don't want to like allow it, but I want to travel to America and I want to go to the Bitcoin conference, and I probably can't get in without it, and it fucking sucks.
You're not considering moving.
Well, the problem is at the moment, like, where do you even? I don't know a single country in the world that is not actually. This is an interesting point. Actually, the very clever thing I think they've done with the vaccine at the moment is they are not. No government is imposing their citizens have to have the vaccine to travel. I haven't seen a single government do that. Every government that I've seen is imposing to visit the country, you have to have the vaccine. So if every government does that, you can't travel, but you can't blame your own government. So if I want to travel to America,
they can blame the other.
I'm blaming America. If I want to go to Portugal, I'm blaming Portugal. If I want to go to Australia, I'm blaming Australia. The UK government are going, no restrictions on UK individuals. Don't take it if you don't want it. If you want to travel internationally, knock yourself out. We will not block you from traveling internationally. Oh, you want to go to Spain? Oh, the Spanish government say you got to have the vaccine. So it's genius. Like, again, this is like another very clever little like switcheroo where they've just gone, the individual citizens aren't going to accept taking the vaccine and you have to have it to travel internationally. So they've gone, don't do it. Just look at every country they want to go to and make sure that any visitors have to have the vaccine to get in. It's the same result. Everyone has to have the vaccine.
Well, the allowed countries which we got included Australia and New Zealand. It's just like they're not letting anyone in, not even their own citizens. I was just like, for fuck's sake. You like said, oh, we're going to get you 11 countries. It's like, oh, are you? Thank you so much. We're going to go for the Caribbean, where us and our friends holiday, but you can't because you're too poor. Yep. Australia, New Zealand, lol, you can't go there. These random little islands in the middle of fucking nowhere, you can't get there either because you've got to go into another country, but you're not allowed there. And you want to go to holiday to France? Oh yeah, Europe's closed.
Yeah. It is just classic duress, I feel. But to your point, I do think that this is like the beginning. And when do you just simply say no? When does everybody have that stance? Because I think if you did a poll of do you want the vaccine or do you not want the vaccine, and obviously no restrictions, it would be different to those that have had the vaccine or having the vaccine as well. There would be a stark difference because I would happily not have it.
Yeah,
I've got the perfect stat for you on that one, because
Okay.
obviously my brother works for the NHS, and they were surveyed and who would take the vaccine, and it was 60-40 against. But then once they came out and offered everyone the vaccine, 99% took it. So that just shows you that 60% of people that work for the NHS did not want that vaccine, but faced with the consequences of, well, maybe you won't be able to go into work anymore. You probably won't be able to travel. Like, because obviously if you're working in the health profession, like, we're lucky, we're business guys, so we're probably not going to be restricted from working. But if you're in the health profession, not having the vaccine is very likely going to be a requirement. Like, you can't be a nurse or a doctor and not have the vaccine. So when it really came down to it, 60% of people did not want that vaccine, but 99% ended up taking it once it was offered. So
there we go.
It just shows you that the fact is we are baked into a government society, and even though we have our views, I think we're doing it on a risk-based scenario here, where we're just hoping that the vaccine is like, look, they get to stab us in the arm twice. I would really just hope it does nothing. That's the biggest goal for me, is it does nothing. I don't care whether it protects me against a virus or not. I just hope there's no adverse effects, because I'm probably going to take it. And I just really hope, because I don't want it. There's zero positive like health benefits of me taking this thing, but just being able to travel is the only benefit. So I just hope that the medical impact is not worse than what I'm going to gain travel wise. And that's the same reason why nurses and doctors have taken it. They just hope that the fact that they can continue to work, they're not going to get ill enough that makes it counterproductive that they took the vaccine, which it's so horrendous. We're making people make this decision, and it's just coercive, and it's so obvious that the pharmaceutical companies are making an absolute killing at selling tests and vaccines for a vaccine that no one wants, but the governments are mandating.
We've been locked down for the best part of a year, and I think it's just broken people.
Yeah.
Because I think mentally, most people won't be able to take another year, but I also think the government are going, this is your get out. But I also do think the government aren't going to be able to lock anyone down again. So I think it's just not going to happen. They'll try, but I think that's when they'll get civil disorder. But
they've got no excuse once everybody's had their jabs.
I'm hoping the mask stuff disappears, because that's probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Oh yeah, it'll stop the virus. Well, how come when the mask mandates came in every country, the virus spread went up?
Yeah,
and
I can guarantee.
And also the research pointed towards it didn't work, and even all the heads of health for every country said it did not work back in March or April 2020. Yeah. But then 6 months later, it's like, oh no, it's mandatory.
Yeah,
that's not conspiracy. Fauci came out of it. That one who looks like a goblin or golem in the UK, I can't remember what his name is. He said it didn't work. Yeah. And then 6 months, it works. It's just like, it doesn't, because you fucking told us it didn't.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think lockdown is coming back, and lockdown will happen in September, October in the UK again. And the people that will get blamed for it, in reality, it'll be flu season coming back, but there will be 20 to 30% of the population that have been vaccinated at that point. They will blame it on them. And because the country would have been...
The non-vaxxers, the anti-vaxxers.
The anti-vaxxers, yeah. And which in reality, obviously, anyone with a brain would know that it's got absolutely nothing to do with that. And if you look at the people that are getting ill and the people that are dying yet again will be 85-year-olds dying of the flu, and they've all been vaccinated. So if the vaccine fucking works, then they shouldn't be dying, should they? But they will be, because it'll be a new variant of the flu and they will be dying. But I can almost guarantee there's 20 to 30% of people that will resist this, because not everyone wants to travel anyway. So they will just say no. And so there's quite a large percentage, I think, of the population, because they've screwed over so many small businesses. And so the amount of like free money people have, like especially at the lower end, has been taken away during the last year. So they're not looking to travel internationally. They can't afford the tests on both ends of international travel. So they'll be staying in the UK anyway. They're going to pretty much go, my lot is this. I'm here for 5-10 years probably after all this. So they've got no incentive to take the vaccine. And they're going to get blamed for lockdown. And they're going to get pressured to go, look, we've locked down again. And they're going to be on stage every day at 5 o'clock saying the reason for lockdown is because 30% of the population has not been vaccinated yet. And they have spread it and they're killing people. And they're going to guilt trip. And the family members, the friends of people that haven't been vaccinated, they will tell them, go get vaccinated. You're killing my grandma. Go do it.
And I'm not allowed out because of you.
Yeah. And to be honest, you know, like how we've all broken because we want international travel, right? When you like, even if you don't believe in all this and like you don't want to internationally travel, but you just want to go down to your local fucking pub and have a pint. When they lock you down and take that away, and they go, it's because you didn't get vaccinated, you're just going to go, you know what, fuck it. I'll get vaccinated. Yeah. I want a pint down the local. And that's the way they're going to get it.
I'm not even a pub guy, but I want to go because you're telling me that I can't go. And if you're taking that away, then I want to go. And I'll do what I need to do.
I think my hope is around America because the states, you know, I don't really know too much detail about American politics, but states are acting as independent countries with different mandates. And you've got the examples of being Texas and Florida. You know, they came out. Biden said publicly that there are going to be bodies dropping left, right, and centre in Texas since they just dropped everything like that and nothing. So, you know, that is your evidence. You've got states which are next door to ones which have got harsh mandates. And the states which have nothing are actually outperforming, which actually points towards something which went on during the 1918, was it Spanish flu? Where it wasn't actually Spanish flu, which was killing a number of high proportion of people. It was actually bacterial infections caused by masks which weren't washed.
Right.
And that's one of the issues which we're actually encountering now, which I've never seen any stats, so I'm highly suspicious of what the hell it's being classed as. Because you see the morons with either a mask on their rearview mirror or their gear stick. And it's like every time you wear that, you're collecting bacteria. So if you are wearing a mask, wash it. But, you know, they're not. They've got one of these paper masks, which aren't designed to be worn more than once and not more than, say, an hour or so. And they're keeping it, they're putting on their gear stick, they're wearing it probably 20 times or so until it actually gets a rip in it. And that is how you get bacterial and pneumonia.
Yeah, well, you put it in your pocket, you put it on your chin, you put it like, and I've spoken to like some medical professionals, and it's like the most dirty part of your body is like your chin and neck because you walk into a lot, and that is literally you grab your mask here, you put it down there. That is so dirty. This part of your body is so dirty, and then you from there you then push it back. It's you will never see a surgeon doing these things. Like they will wear a mask, and like if they ever change it or touch it, they will change the mask over. They would literally switch it out completely. And that's after scrubbing and getting every single bit of bacteria off their body before they even walked into the theater. And that is how you wear a mask.
It's also to stop spit. You know, that's the whole point of surgical masks is stop spit, phlegm, things like that. It's not to stop any possible asymptomatic virus particles from going into a patient, which the mask like that can't stop because it you know, the holes are too big in a mask.
Yeah, but it's a sad sign. Like literally, there's 3 of us here that all agree the vaccine is bullshit, and we're going to take it.
Yeah,
that's actually quite interesting because I've been meaning to ask you guys because you've always been the most opposed.
Yeah,
and probably the most extreme view out of all of us, and it is quite interesting. But now you're just going.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Because I'm 60. Like I said, I'm 60-40. I've been mulling it over for the last 5 days. I still don't know. I don't want it. If there's a way of me just pretending to take it and be able to just say that I've done it, but then just squirt the vaccine down the toilet or something, that's my preference. But yeah, I don't know. I hate the fact that I'm compliant. I would rather just be like, no, because the thing is, like, if everyone just said no, then it wouldn't work, right? If everyone in the world just said no and international travel was just nonsensical because no one had the vaccine, then it works. But the problem is, I've realized, and seeing the stats, literally the thing that changed my mind was literally last week when my brother told me that the survey from the NHS that was 60-40 against, 99% of staff took the vaccine. I'm like, it doesn't matter what the polls say. When it really comes down to the personal choice and the restrictions that are coming, people just fucking comply. So I'm like, I'm going to be part of the 1% that don't have it. They're going to they're fine with excluding me from society. They don't give a fuck about me. And I'm probably going to have to take it. I fucking hate the fact that I'm going to have to take it, but I'm probably just going to have to do it.
Yeah. And you're going to have to annually take it as well once you first take it, because what's the point in you not doing it year 2, 3, 4 and beyond when you did it initially?
Oh, Daniel, you know that you're the king of like renewals. So what do you want to do when you sell a big deal? You want to get it renewed.
Get it renewed
on year. And by the way, this year you need 3 shots, not just 2. Like more money, boy. It's just this is just smart business. Like it's a smart business.
Because now we've got COVID Pro, which will protect you against the Indian variant that we've just made up. Right, so you want the better one because there's a chance that you'll catch
the engine's being covered in order to make sure more people get vaccinated this summer. So we're gonna have to come up with another country. I don't know, like French Guinea.
You've got 200 countries, so we can pick any one of them.
And we can also pick certain regions of the countries once countries sound boring. So we can actually go for in particular, like, I don't know, the Skegness variant.
Was it COVID IQ3 or something?
COVID 19.46.
There will be them all, but it doesn't and won't stop at all.
No. Anyway, boys, the last thing I wanted to like talk about today was literally, I think like over the last couple of episodes we're 5 deep now, and it's like I just wanted to like really emphasize the point about like making your own decisions, like don't trust, verify. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is like purely because I don't know, there's a couple of things that have gone, you hear things from certain people and you start to trust individuals, and then you kind of follow their investment decisions, and then you buy the thing that they're buying, or you do the thing that they're doing, like whatever. And like we've referenced various books, podcasts, all that type of stuff. I just really want to emphasize, like, you really need to own the decision. Like it's you that's doing it. So
just so like often, we ignored you all those years ago.
Exactly. So own that fucking decision. Own it. Because the thing is, like, you could have followed me early on and it could have gone to 0, and then you'd have blamed me. It's like, no, if you followed me
I'll still blame you anyway. I'm like, why didn't you tell me enough?
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. But it's, I just wanted to really hammer that point home.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I think Bitcoin has helped for me, I suppose, tune in my investment understanding, and also understanding of money. So it's looking at, well, what's actually worth the money to invest in. You know, these kind of punts which were taken in the past, you put them all together, God knows what they're worth, but it hasn't been worth it. I don't think anyone's paid off. It's like, oh yeah, this one, they're close to finding this seam of whatever, or they're going to do this, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'll put like 100 quid or something. Doesn't pay off. Times that by 10. You know, and that's, I think we probably all done bits of that, and they've all gone to shit. I don't think anyone's actually won on a point on a punt. It's like having a 20 game accumulation on football. You never win.
Yeah, you're right on that. Do you know what? Funnily enough, if you guys have seen on Netflix, there's a new Money Explained series, and the first one was the con man, and people looking for that quick buck, and no matter how many times we know that there's no such thing as a quick buck, we still do it. It's just human nature. And I think Bitcoin certainly teaches us the opposite of that. It's that low time preference, thinking outside of the box, and to your point, Gaz, don't trust, verify. And so ultimately, I think that we need to, just kind of settle and take our time with things and look into it a little bit more.
Yeah. 'Cause I think fundamentally, like if a decision is wrong and you lose like a large amount of money, I would like for me personally, if that happens, I just need to know that like I've done the due diligence, I assessed the risk, and the risk ended up happening. I lost a load of money, but I did that decision, so I'm going to own that loss. Whereas if you've done it purely based on I'm following this person, like Elon said this, Warren Buffett said that, I'm just following them blindly. When that investment decision goes wrong, you blame them automatically. You don't own it. So it's just because Bitcoin is always an investment decision. It's frustrating because it's not just an investment. This is literally the lifeboat away from the Titanic. This is the most important thing you can ever do with your financial wealth. But as I was like listening back to a couple of the podcasts and stuff that we've done, there's a little bit of like of a call to authority that we've been talking about a little bit too much, and I just want to really just bring it back to like personal sovereignty and personal accountability, and go, just do the work. Like if you're not sure, and if you're thinking about buying Bitcoin or buying whatever, and you're not sure, then keep reading, and until you get to a point where if every penny you put in it goes to zero, you're okay with it because you made a decision and it ended up being wrong. If you can't agree to that, keep reading because you're not there yet. Keep going because you need to be okay with losing everything because the thing is, like, I think all of us here are okay with that right now because we have made the decision, and it's like, this is the best sound money that exists. It is the thing. Yep. If something happens that fucks all that up and Bitcoin isn't sound money anymore and it gets hacked and it all ends to zero, it's like, all right, fine. I did all the work I could do and it ended up being wrong. But this is why we're seeing like 30% dips or too many weak hands. People don't have this conviction. They're not following their own nose. They're following other people's. So when someone else says, I don't like this thing anymore, then they just run away. They're scared. Yeah. And it's just, it was personal accountability. Fucking take ownership of it. Stop being a victim. Stop being passive. Take control of your life and just take control of your investments and own it. If it goes up, well done. If it goes down, you fucked up. Correct it and fucking go again. Don't listen to podcasts. Don't read books and then just completely offload your whole decision matrix onto the person that you've just read and just follow their advice.
So who sent you angry messages, guys?
Weirdly no one. Like nearly everyone that I know now, like they're all quite immune to these price dips. But it was literally, I was just listening to the podcast back when I was editing a couple of them, and I just thought we were a little bit too kind and a little bit too like appealing to authority.
Right, actually.
And I just wanted to reel it in a little bit.
Yeah, no, I like that as well, because I think that is exactly the same reason why people sell early, is because the same quick decision that they made to buy in is the same quick decision that they make to sell. Whereas I think certainly for all of us, I think, you didn't just immediately get into Bitcoin. I know myself and Ross didn't immediately get into Bitcoin. And that's because we put the work in and we didn't trust what we heard at first. But that time then gave us the extended time now to be like, right, well, we're totally cool with our positions. And I think that's the difference between us and perhaps the paper hands that are out there that are just like, oh, okay, great, we'll get in and then we'll get out. And they think, let me know when someone asked me actually, and when do you think it will double? And I was like, I don't know when it's going to double. But if you don't want to do it, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you, you should probably look
I think
into
it's kind of that kind of use, looking at speculation. If someone wants to speculate on something, pick some shitty little coin which will get some celebrity endorsement and pump your money on that, and hopefully it'll double 10 times. But you can't guarantee it. May just go down the pan because it is a shit coin. It's basically a digital pog.
Digital pog, yeah.
My favourite saying.
Yeah, I also looked at various different investments as well. Like passive investments, and I don't know what I would have put my money into. Probably still would have been property had Bitcoin not been around. So you've got things like gold, classic stocks, but the best one, as we've seen in the last decade, is certainly Bitcoin.
I think if I hadn't, it probably would have been something like gold. Like, if it wasn't Bitcoin or I didn't trust it, it would have been something like gold, because you could see this potential recession happening, this big market crash, which is going to happen. So in my mind, I've just had to stick it in something which is outside of that. And, that's my kind of reasoning. I knew it was happening. I think I was talking to you, Darnell, before when I was considering where to put my money. And I kind of knew that Bitcoin was an option, but I didn't. I was still piecing it together in my mind. I mean, ultimately, if I hadn't as well, I'd have a new car, which, yeah.
But weirdly, you probably would have been spot on as well, because the only reason why gold is only up like, I don't know, 10, 20% over the last year, and Bitcoin's up 300% over the last year, is because Bitcoin exists. So if Bitcoin didn't exist, the flea to avoid inflation and avoid fiat money, it would have been into gold. So I actually think that your mindset probably would have been correct, because gold probably would have 3 or 4x this year if Bitcoin didn't exist. But the thing is, the price of gold went down quite considerably, like various points during the year, and almost definitely, just as they were selling, Bitcoin was going up. So it's very clear that gold owners were fleeing from gold and going into Bitcoin. So it's the same mantra is playing out. It's just the fear is coming. Like, people are fleeing from fear. They realize the housing bubble was inflated. They know that stocks are inflated. Fear is being burnt and printed at $1 trillion an hour. They need to get outside of the system somehow, and gold was the way out. And they now have a digital gold, and that is Bitcoin. And that is why I think Bitcoin has done so well this year, even though we've won 30% dip right now. But that's just paper hand fucking Portnoy.
Next week we could be having a completely different podcast, I'm sure.
Yeah, one thing could be celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. Colombia, there's riots over there, which is right next to Venezuela, and that's due to tax hikes and people certainly not happy with their government.
Yeah, because they put lockdown and they want to pay for the lockdowns with taxes, and people are like, we didn't want the fucking lockdown, so we're not paying you fucking taxes. Yeah. And I'm like, I love it. I love that South American fire.
Yeah, but that's definitely, I think, one of the next places to erupt with potentially hyperinflation too.
I don't know. I think the government are probably a bit too scared now, so the people aren't backing down. They can't even control them, so I don't understand how they'd be able to do inflate the money or tax or anything.
Yeah, that's fundamentally, like, you got to remember though, like, it's not, they don't hyperinflate a currency on purpose. It happens by accident. It's when the citizens lose faith in the currency and stop transacting in it. That is when they end up, hyperinflation ends up happening. So
it's also when they start printing so much. I mean, the example is, which country was it? Zimbabwe?
But they only do that because the citizens and the companies refuse to accept it. So you have to go, right, I want to buy, like, whatever the government wants to buy. Like, I want to buy a load of vaccines from you, say. And the government, like, you as a company, don't value Zimbabwe dollars anymore. So you just go, well, normally it's 10,000 Zimbabwe dollars, but I actually only accept US dollars now. So you can either pay me as US dollars or if it's Zimbabwe dollars, I don't accept 10,000. I want 50,000 because I don't trust it. So you now have to go as a government. Fuck, we don't have 50,000. We've got to print more to pay the company, and it just keeps going like that. And eventually, the government just goes, "Fuck, our money's not good. We have to keep paying more to get the same." And without them really realizing it, they're trying to chase their tail, and they never catch it, and it all ends up in tears.
I think Colombia will have to back off then. Like, you're probably right, but it will go down that route if they continue. But the people aren't putting up with their shit.
You heard it here, episode 5, Colombia, one to watch.
Short Colombia, short them. Don't short Tesla, short the whole Colombia. Sorry, Colombia fans. Sorry, James Rodriguez and your transsexual.
Valderrama back in the day.
What haircut that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if any of you realised.
Colombian?
What?
Is Shakira Colombian?
Good shout. That's definitely.
Her hips don't lie, but probably. She's Colombian. She's got to be. She's too hot not to be.
Oh, let me have a look. Colombian.
Shakira.
Yeah, she's a Colombian singer.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have realised.
That's Google history right there.
Yeah, it's a good search, that one. That's good, like, man points, that search. But I don't know if you've realised, like, we haven't got disconnected tonight. This is carried on for the whole 2 hours.
Yeah.
I have invested.
I was thinking halfway through.
I've invested. The first time they give you a pass on the free one, the first time round. And then after that, they cut you off. So I invested the £10 a month. It's in. I've stacked some sats and I've fucking put it in. And Zoom have some of my money, and we went all the way through this time.
Thank you. I was actually hoping for a break because I was going to get a new drink. I actually planned.
I'm out of water.
I'm out. Yeah.
I know. So the breaks are actually useful. Like, I know we actually baked them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if we can actually get Mark in the next one.
I know.
Yeah.
Needs to convince him just do half an hour at the start or something.
Yeah, we need to slag him off more. Like, we didn't slag him off this time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the only person who did a dig today. I can't remember what I said. It was about Starbucks, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think me saying that, like, you should have pulled out last week.
Yeah, that's pretty an epic one.
Yeah. I always like it when I don't get a laugh. I get a ooh. That's when I know it's a good one. And I got a couple last week, so I thought I'd like give him a bit of a free pass this week.
I had a question actually. How do we want to go about sharing, obviously, the podcasts more, and then obviously getting feedback from people of what they like?
You need to get stickers. Put it in toilets.
But just above the glory hole.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe like, oh, this sounds interesting.
Suck here.
Yeah, it's around the glory hole, so it must be good when they tune it's 4 middle-aged guys talking about Bitcoin.
This is a massive dick comes through, like fucking 4Bs stuck here, like.
Yeah.
That's great marketing. Why don't you work in marketing, Ross? That's like the best marketing plan I've ever heard. We're going to sponsor glory holes globally.
Or we start doing a load of crop circles.
You just like round things, like glory holes, fucking crop circles. Like, provided it's round, we're sponsoring the shit out of it. If it's got a dick in it, we double down.
Pretty much.
There we go, Daniel. There's your marketing plan.
That's my marketing plan. Thanks for answering that, Ross.
Ross is head of marketing, and he's agreed that he's going to go round all the gay clubs in the entire fucking world and put the 4Bs stuck here on every glory hole. That's how we spread the word, apparently. If that doesn't work, then
he's not saying no.
He's like, I know most of them.
He's thinking about it. He's like, yeah, actually, it's a pretty good idea. Running through the For the stats, I don't see why it'd fail.
It's his idea. It's not even my.
Yeah.
This is his idea. Of course, he thinks it's going to work.
I love how it's just spanned from me saying put a sticker on a wall in a toilet to glory holes, gay gloves. What else we had in there? Crop circles, which was my suggestion, but then cock-shaped crop circles.
It's just funnier.
No, yeah, it's one of those where obviously we're on YouTube, so it's there's video and stuff, but I can cut the audio out, brand it a little bit, and throw it out onto SoundCloud, Apple, Google. I can do that. It costs a little bit of money to host it and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, if we're happy doing it, then I'm happy doing it. It's just
how many do we want to do until we publish 6?
Right. At the very, very beginning, I said like we need a bank of 5 minimum. We're there now, so it's time to start making a decision to go.
Yeah, I think
you want it. Because the thing is, for me, like I'm happy. I don't give a shit. I'll put it down every social. You guys work, so it's one of those where it depends which social. Because obviously the main, like I've got 5,000 followers on freaking LinkedIn. I've got 2,000 on Twitter. It depends which social you want to do. Depends whether we're going to be connected to it. I could shove it on Twitter. If I do it on Twitter, it's not connected to you guys at all, and like they're very unlikely to get it back to who you are and your work and all that. If I put it on LinkedIn, well, you're blown. Your cover's blown instantly. They're going to know.
It's gone.
So it's one of those. It's like I can do the work and get it accessible on all those platforms, which is quite a bit of work actually. Like to actually get it to that point.
It is, yeah.
So I'm willing to do it. I can do it, and but then publishing it and like promoting it, there's another set of decisions next to that to go. Do I just put it?
I think there's value in it.
Yeah, I don't. Right now, I don't think we've said anything that is bad. We're just talking.
I think it'd just be regarding.
3 or 4 guys.
I think it'd just be purely some of the COVID comments because I think some people are still hanging on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you edit that.
Yeah, I say that's probably a risk, and then also the gay bar jokes as well.
Yeah.
What's wrong with a gay bar and the fact there's lots of dick there?
Well, some of us still need to work, Gaz, and we don't want to be accused of homophobia.
But I'm literally saying that you want to go to gay bars, go round the glory holes and suck a lot of dick.
You know this is cancel. You know this is cancel culture.
This is the opposite of homophobia. I'm literally virtually calling I am calling you right now a homosexual. You're like the most inclusive into this group ever. if we were saying we will not advertise on glory holes, that is homophobic. We are saying we are exclusively advertising on glory holes. We're not on a glory hole in the fucking UK. We don't want to know about it. We are so homosexual. Yeah. It's not even true.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else which is close to time. I think we had the trans sport. It's a potential cancelled one, but I think it's actually. I'll back my decision because
I'll back my decision on that. Yeah.
Yeah, the MMA and like the whole thing about women having their skulls broken. Yeah.
It's one of them where the only reason why it would ever get tied back to you if we ever shared it on LinkedIn. If we share on any other platform, it's impossible. Like the connection is going to be too remote. So I think that's the thing. Maybe if I start editing all this down and get all the audios out and put it on the platforms, if we only share it like on like my Twitter and like just put it up there, then just let's see what happens. Whereas really what we want to do is like probably promote it to our LinkedIn profiles, but we won't do that. We'll leave that out because that connects to our real identities. And let's just see what the general public think and what the Bitcoiners think. And that's the safest way to go about it. And because like Ross, Darnell, Gaz and Mark mean nothing to a lot of Bitcoiners. But if we obviously put it down on LinkedIn's, it's going to be very quick to identify that who those 4 people are. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm comfortable with it if it was to go onto LinkedIn, because I think there's a lot of good content that's out there that we should and could be sharing. So I'm easy either way.
I think you possibly have to snippet it if you're going to go for that, because I think it's just
Or just just maybe do little snippets on the LinkedIn piece.
So I think it's some of the childish comments which I'm quite wary of LinkedIn, especially in now we work for a company which has inclusivity officer or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I think if anyone's like read my like latest LinkedIn comments, like they're not PC. They've got
I was going to say that one which you did. I think during the first lockdown, which was about people working at home and watching porn. I took a picture sent to you, and he's like, you didn't like it.
Exactly, yeah. It was unliked by you, and you're like, I can't like that. That you do like it though, don't you? It's like, yeah, I love it, but I can't like it.
I can't like it. Yeah, but I can't like it. I like it, but I can't.
Like LinkedIn have to behave. I have noticed since they've had that news feature in the top right, you get some horrendous comments on there. And I do have a look every time there's a Bitcoin one there mentioned, to just read through the comments of people arguing. You know, it's got the name of their company, their name, their position. And it's just like, you're saying things which you really should be saying.
Yeah.
I know. And it's so freeing when you're on LinkedIn, and my job description is on the beach with whiskey and Wi-Fi at bitcoin.com. It's just beautiful because I can just go in on everyone, and it's just freeing. You literally say what you think, and with no like wariness of the consequences. Because like the worst thing you can do is just disagree with me and maybe disconnect or block me. It's like, fair enough. Do what you want to do. You can't go to my boss and get me fired. I am my own boss. Yeah. You can't do anything. And weirdly, actually, this is the thing. Actually, I actually got a message from LinkedIn the other day, and they said my profile picture was offensive. I had laser eyes on it, and I am smoking a cigar in my profile picture, but I can guarantee it was shitcoiners reporting me, because the only thing you can report people for on LinkedIn that they don't really check is your profile picture. So they were, I'd pissed off enough shitcoiners on LinkedIn that they'd reported my profile picture enough times, and LinkedIn messaged me going, we're going to remove your profile picture. So I was like, all right, fucking do it. They did it. They removed my profile picture. I uploaded the same one, and it's there now. So fuck those guys. You're like the most inclusive into this group ever. if we were saying we will not advertise on glory holes, that is homophobic. We are saying we are exclusively advertising on glory holes.
Fellow plebs, if you want to hear us, then tune in.